Peace, world. Thanks for pressing play on some more Bite Down Boxing coverage or Bite Down Boxing talk with myself, R.L. Woodson, or just Wood. I sat back and watched a lot of different angles on this Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz rematch that's looming before the end of the year. And just read an article on Boxing Scene giving a little reaction to that with Top Ranks Bob Arum coming out and saying that the rematch is a horrible deal and that Joshua will never be the same again. And try to keep this to 3 points. One is, well, let me back up. I always have some reference to a movie or television or entertainment. And back there in The Wire, Tall Charles, I believe, was he Slim Charles or Tall Charles? I thought it was Tall Charles, the actor though from the city of Baltimore. But his character said, "Hey, if you told us we got to go to war on that lie," when they were getting ready to go to war with Marlowe's people, I think, said, "Well, if you tell us to go to war on that lie, then we go to war on that lie. That's what we do." And in this situation right here, regardless of what the rumors were, or whatever's a lie, whatever's the truth that led up to the Joshua that we saw on Fight Night against Andy Ruiz, if lies were told and he found himself into that ring on those lies, and he got to find his way into the rematch on those lies. And this is boxing. Like, there's no running from to sit here and say that he shouldn't have a rematch. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But the business of boxing put Anthony Joshua in Madison Square Garden June 1st against Andy Ruiz. The business of boxing. However you want to look at it. Whether he didn't want to be there, whether he didn't want to fight in the U.S., whether he didn't want to fight Ruiz, whether he couldn't get a temporary use exemption, all of that. The Zone wanted this fight. The Zone, regardless. The business of boxing is what got him in that ring that night. If he was concussed a week and a half or whatever earlier, and he still ended up fighting, the business of boxing said that he couldn't pull out. If he had a panic attack or whatever, the business of boxing deemed you got to go out there and fight. So to come out now and say the rematch is a bad idea, the business of boxing suggests that going back and trying to get those belts, he's going to lose all of his leverage, any that he ever established. It's not going to be easy getting those fights made. It wasn't easy when he had the belts. But now to go in and, at the end of the day, man, whatever he is, that's what he's going to be in the rematch. It is what it is. You want to say now, how does prolonging it make it any better? You might as well go ahead and go out there, and if the book, if we already know, if this outcome was what the book is on Anthony Joshua, it's not like you're gonna go and fight two or three other guys and they're not gonna do the same thing. They're not gonna try to do the same thing. You might as well go right back to the person that it started with and not waste everybody's time. Largely on the reality that this is boxing. This is the business of boxing. But I think it's two things that you start with. One, you knock that man down with a single punch in the third round. The second thing, you finish the fight on your feet. It'd be much different, in my opinion. It'd be a much different ordeal if you finished with your toe straight up in the air with your back on the canvas. That's a pretty definitive loss. But the fact that some of us think, he didn't look right or whatever, the fact that is out there, and the fact that you finished the fight on your, on your feet, that's what you start with. And I'm sorry, I mean, no shots, no doubt or no question about Andy Ruiz Jr., but it's a winnable fight. And I believe it's a winnable fight whether or not you get rid of McCracken or not. You might not be able to win some fights after Andy Ruiz, but even just sticking with things as is, having a sharp camp, working on stamina, staying away from weights, it's a winnable fight going into it. And you already know what you didn't know. There are no unknowns now. So I get what Arum is saying, but it's not your fighter. So and that's the whole thing in all of this. None of these opinions really mean nothing, really mean anything. It's all about what AJ wants to do. And if he's comfortable with that, and if they get it worked out, whether or not it's MSG, whether or not it's somewhere in the UK or whatever, he's got to go into this fight standing on the lie. End of story, really. I just don't know how it's so one-sided. I'm trying to think of the one person. I've heard a couple of people say that it was, Tyson Fury. Well, of course these people aren't going to say glowing things about his chances in the rematch. Of course Deontay Wilder isn't going to say, although I think Wilder said, we will see something, I'm paraphrasing, but I think he said, the thought is that Ruiz's style and everything is all bad for AJ. And like I said, it's cool for everybody to have their opinions. But at the end of the day, man, if Joshua is, if that's what he wants to do, then is to have the rematch and run it back and try to right the wrongs that, he may have made along the way, then it's up to him. And at the end of the day, man, nobody gives a damn if he loses his career or whatever. All of that doesn't matter. Hell, ain't none of this stuff mattered. He's been 47% of the people have rocked with him. 47% of the people have hated his guts. 6% in the middle, wishy-washy, they flipping every day. So all that it matters is to a man is if he's made up his mind, if he knows what happened, if he knows where he cut corners, if he knows what's what, if he says that's what he wants to do, then he's got to go back and enter the ring and face that situation. And again, it's a winnable fight. So I'm not pro Joshua. I'm not pro Andy Ruiz. I'm not pro Eddie Hearn. I'm not pro Matchroom. I'm not pro nothing. Just looking at this thing big picture. Looking at how things have played out and what the landscape of boxing is right now. Everything that's on the line with the heavyweight division and people trying to get back in and cash in the way that you could before. I don't know how you go about it any other way. Got to go to war on that lie. And you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. Till next time.